So this is me at 4.5 weeks out. I'm not wearing any makeup right now. I literally got out of bed and brushed my hair. I'm just putting on concealer because I actually look like I'm dying. Your hands, as you just saw with mine, look at my hands. They are destroyed. They are dry. They are cracked. They're destroyed. And now I'm putting on bronzer to make it seem like I have some life in me. And the bronzer I use is just from MAC. I think it's like the light gold one. The last thing I do is I use a matte powder. This is literally called, it's just called Stay Matte. It's from Rimmel London and it was like $6 and it's a lifesaver. So for any greasy spots you have, just put that on and you won't be greasy. Be right back, I have to pee. Okay, this is a very, very highly requested video from you guys. It is first time competitor and what to expect on prep, during prep, day of the show, stuff like that. I have been on prep 3 times. The first time was just kind of like a personal thing for myself. But the second 2 times were for a show. Right now I am 4.5 weeks out, so I've got 4.5 more weeks until I step on stage. I'm sure you could probably tell that there's some differences just by looking at me. My face is a little bit more hollow. Like when I talk, you can see where my like jaw, when you see my jawline, it's more defined, and then like my cheekbones are very defined. That's because I'm losing weight in my face. I'm losing fat. Like you can see, you can see like I can do more skin pinching because my skin is getting, like it's just losing the fat. So right now I'm just holding water and it's kind of interesting. So basically this is just water in which I'm holding right here. So when your skin gets really thin, you lose all the fat, and this is just water. I'm holding a lot of water right now because I just had a cheat meal. It's actually my last cheat meal until the show. So for a month and a bit, I won't be having any more refeeds. Last weekend was my final one, and I actually gained 2 pounds from that. So it's gonna be a real grind, but let's get right into this video. What you should expect right from the get-go of prep if you have never prepped before and you are wanting to compete. The very first thing that I want to address is competing is expensive. It is definitely going to take a toll on your wallet if you are not financially like stable, or if you're living paycheck to paycheck, then competing probably isn't right for you. You need to register with the organization that is putting on the show. For me, this was $125 just to register with the organization holding the show. To register for the actual show, it's $100 per category. I'm only doing 1 category. So basically to enter myself in the show, it costs a total of $225. I wrote down a few other things that you're gonna have to pay for. You're going to have to pay for tanning, hair, and makeup, especially if you're a female competitor. Oh my god. The hosting company that's doing tanning, hair, and makeup for the show that I'm competing in, they charge $175 each. So $175 for tan, $175 for makeup, and $175 for hair. I'm recommending going, like what I'm doing is I'm getting my hair and makeup done by outside sources. So I have a friend who's doing my hair for $50. I have another friend who's doing my makeup for $80, and then I'm getting my tan done with the hosting company, just because I really recommend that, so that you are the same color as everyone else on stage. So when they tan you, It's a very, very, very dark color. Like, you will look like an Oompa Loompa. Like, it's not attractive if you're just chilling in like society, but when you're on stage, the lights are so bright, you're gonna wanna need to be that dark, and it shows off your muscles so much more. The reason why I want to recommend going with the hosting company is that everybody else is going to be going with that company as well, and you do not want to be the person on stage who is lighter or who is a different color or like more yellow than everyone else on stage, because the hosting company, they will make sure there are no mistakes when they're tanning you, and you will be the exact same color as everyone else. A big thing that you're gonna have to pay for, probably the biggest thing, especially if you're a female competitor, is your suit. Now, I was lucky enough to get a suit sponsorship this year with a company called Suits by V. She is an individual who lives in Canada and makes gorgeous suits. My sponsorship, I got 40% off of my suit. However, I still did pay $400 for my suit, my bikini. That was in my previous video. So suits can go anywhere from $300 to $1,200 depending on how much glam you want, because the suit itself has real crystals on it. Like, people go hard when they're making suits. Like, you want to basically be the person who stands out on stage, and that's what I decided to do this time. I was like, you know what, just load it up. I want all the crystals, I want the whole 9 yards. Like, I just want my suit to be fantastic. So my suit would have been around $700 if I didn't have the sponsorship, which is a large sum of money. Like, depending on what your job is, that's like a full paycheck for me. So it's very expensive. You're gonna have to pay for food, you're gonna have to pay for competition heels, which can range from like $50 to $200 depending on, like I said, what you want on them, the jewels you want on them. And coaching is another thing that's also very expensive that you're gonna have to pay for. It can range, well, in Canada, coaches can range anywhere from $150 to $300 a month. Very expensive, and most preps are generally 4 months. So like 4 times 3, that's $1,200 right there for coaching. All right, number 2, what you should expect is you will spend a very large portion of your life on prep focused on food, cooking food, preparing food, thinking about food. Everything is just food. Like, you need to know all the macronutrients for all the foods. You need to weigh out all of your meals in grams. Everything's got to be prepared. You're constantly cooking, you're constantly eating, you're constantly running out of food. It's just kind of like in the back of your head at all times. Your food perception changes. So when I think of an apple, I don't think of just a fruit. I think of, well, 110 grams of apple is 15 grams of carbs. Like, that's like my immediate response now, because it's just kind of embedded in my head. If you've never done a meal prep before in your life, or if you've never, you know, weighed food or measured out food, it's going to be very, very tough for you to do a full prep, because you're basically jumping into continuous 4 months of hardcore dieting, hardcore weighing. Luckily with my coach, she does If It Fits Your Macros. So basically she gives me my macros and I'm able to freely choose what I want to eat. So I've been having like goat cheese and like fruit and just whatever I want. But I know a lot of coaches don't do that. They will make your meal plans for you. If I did that, it would just ruin my relationship with food. Like, if my coach told me you have to eat 100 grams of fish and 200 grams of rice and just like that for like weeks repetitive, I would get so sick of it. And like, I made myself sick of chicken because I overdid it. Like, you'll be eating like very plain food. So if you can find a coach that does If It Fits Your Macros, I highly recommend that. You get a lot more freedom and you don't feel like you're eating prison food, basically. Point number 3 that I want to make, what you should be prepared for, is you will be so tired. You will be exhausted. As prep goes along, your calories are going to decrease, your cardio is going to increase, and you're going to be like, holy shit, I'm tired, I can't do it. But that's when people start dropping like flies, when it gets to, you know, those 5-6 final weeks and it just gets to be a real grind. People just get very, very tired and very hungry and very exhausted, and that's when people generally quit. you're gonna think about quitting like so many times, but if you can make it through that grind of being exhausted, then it will be all worth it once you get on stage. Point number four, you will be very irritable and you will get frustrated easily because you will be emotionally exhausted. Prep can have a lot of effects on your hormonal balances, especially if you're a woman. This is why this lifestyle is not sustainable 24/7, because if you're not eating enough to the point where you're losing your menstrual cycle, like you can't sustain that for the whole year. This is only for 4 months of my life. Like it happens to a lot of women. It's basically, I don't want to say it's natural because it's not, but it is a thing that you can expect. But yeah, back to my point of you get very frustrated and irritable. It's because when you're so tired and you're like so deprived of food and sleep and energy, you just don't have that like emotional barrier. So when shit comes flying at you and it's like, say you're having a bad day at work, or say your significant other does something that pisses you off, you don't have that like cognitive ability to be like, oh, well, like that's okay, shit happens. Instead, you're like, oh my god, let me flip out. Oh my god, you know what? Next, come at me. Like I've had my fair share of freakouts this prep, and I've had a fair share of breakdowns, but as long as you can apologize for your behavior and own up to it and try not to do it, then yeah. Just saying, if I've flipped out at you this prep, like if you know me personally and I have like flipped my shit at you, I'm genuinely sorry. Like it's not me, it's the athlete inside me that's like, get out of the way, you know? So I'm sorry. Number 5, you are going to crave food all the time. You're gonna be mad, you're gonna get frustrated when you expect a cheat meal and you're like, yeah, I'm totally gonna get a cheat meal. Like I want a cheat meal so bad, I want a burger, I want this, I want fries, I want ice cream, and then you think you're gonna get a cheat meal and then your coach is like, actually, we're gonna decrease your calories, and you're like, what? So it gets a little bit frustrating when that happens, because your body has ways of telling you if you need it. Like if you legitimately feel like you're dying, and if you show signs of fatigue and you're lethargic, and you know, if your weight is dropping on the scale, then yes, you will probably get a cheat meal. But to just expect a cheat meal because you emotionally crave food, that's not gonna happen. So if you don't have a healthy relationship with food, or if you have a history of binging, if you have, you know, a history of an eating disorder, then I don't think prep is right for you, because you're putting yourself in that situation where a binge is possible. You get frustrated with food. If you don't have the willpower to restrain yourself when those cravings start, then you're basically setting yourself up for failure. I think we're on point number 6. You're gonna be freezing cold. You're gonna be so cold. That's like the first thing everyone notices when they go on prep. When they start losing a lot of body fat, they're like, oh my god, it's freezing in here, and it'll be like 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I noticed that as soon as my water intake went up, I'm now at 5 liters a day. I've just been freezing all the time. Like I went to go personal train a client this morning and I was like, can I just keep my coat on? And we were in her house, like in a room, and I was there in my little winter jacket training her. Point number 7, like I said at the very beginning of this video, you're gonna have to pee all the time. You're gonna have to drink so much water. I remember the day before my show last year, I drank 9 liters. 9 liters, that's like so much water. And the next day I was so thirsty because I was so used to drinking so much. But no, literally at work, I go to the bathroom like 20 times in a shift. If you do not have a good relationship with your body image, then you should really ask yourself, is prep going to be healthy for me? Competing in a show and being on prep is not a gateway into getting yourself in shape. You have to be so prepared for the shit that's gonna come your way when you're on prep. Like, basically you have to like prepare for the worst, and you have to be able to handle everything that comes at you. I personally have had a few meltdowns and breakdowns this prep, but I'm really trying my best this time to keep that under control and not to put everybody else in my life at a point where they feel like they can't talk to me. It's kind of the same with anything you choose to do in life, right? Like, you're gonna have to work really hard, and there's gonna be shit that you don't like, and it's gonna be really difficult, and you're gonna wanna give up, but you don't give up because it's your passion, and you know you wanna do it, it's in you. And for me, that's competing, and that's being an athlete, and that's in me, and I know as long as I have that passion, I'm not going to quit. No matter how tired or hungry or sleep deprived I am, it's inside me and it's in my heart, and that's why I'm competing, and that's why I'm choosing to do this. If you decide to proceed with prep, and if you really have that passion for stepping on stage, then do it. And show day is probably one of the greatest things in this world. Well, for me, when I stepped on stage, it was so empowering. And since you, like, I know a lot of you know that I have an anxiety disorder. When I was able to step on stage in front of that big audience and compete and just showcase everything that I have worked so hard for despite my anxiety, it was like I could cry. It was the greatest moment of my life. And just to have my dad there and my mom and my family and everybody just supporting me, it was probably the greatest feeling in the world. And that's what I'm doing. I'm chasing that feeling because that's honestly true passion, and that's what I'm passionate about. Like, being on prep is a feeling that I can't really explain because it's different for everyone. It's very difficult. You're gonna have different struggles. You have different emotions and different fears, but that stepping on stage and proving to yourself that you did it, it's like, I can't even explain that feeling either. Like, it's just wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I'm going to wrap up this video because I actually have to pee again and I need to fill this up. This is going to be number 5, and then I'll be done my water for the day. Those are just some of the things you should expect. Everybody's prep is different. This is just what I've experienced. So like peeing all the time, being cold, being irritable, being hungry, being fixated on food, having to cook all the time. Like, you are 100% in prep for 4 months or however long you're dieting for. It plays a very significant part in your life. It's gonna be hard, but I'm telling you, it is all worth it if you do choose to pursue competing. So if you have a question, please leave it in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.